Man, what up, y'all? We're slight tad bit, few minutes behind. Had to finish laughing at the kids real quick. Oh, hold up. Oh, dang it. Hold on. Had to go grab the remote because I had a TV on here. Oh man, just laughing with these interns I got here. Man, one of them is a Celtics fan, and so it's kind of funny, sometimes when things don't go your way, and you think that your team is going to be so great, and they end up falling off again, 2 games in a row by a great defensive play from Mikal Bridges, who had all 14 of his points in the fourth quarter. So it's just, hey man, hats off to the Knicks, man, for playing another tremendous game. But go ahead and hit that intro. Episode 74 of Susio Sports, presented by Gel Blasters and Inplay Dogs. Coming to you live from my same spot, as always, on my table, with my pod shirt on. It's my favorite sweatshirt to pod in because it's white and it contrasts my beard so it don't blend in like my black hoodies do. So I don't just look like a floating head. What I'm saying, but episode 74 of Susio Sports presented by Gel Blasters and Play Dogs. Man, it's a lot of playoff basketball to get into, man. I have been enjoying these playoffs big time. I'm talking about like it is just, man, if it hasn't been like a great ending, it's been like a good game or some sort of theme or something going on. I mean, hell, man, last night we had the Warriors won game one in their series against the Timberwolves, and Steph got hurt with a hamstring injury early on in the game, and they still managed to hold off the Wolves and win, holding them to a 31-point first half, and the Wolves having a historic shooting slump their last 2 games between their game seven and their game five against the Lakers and then their game one against the Warriors. I believe they were like 15 and 76 or something like that. It's the worst 2-game 3-point shooting stretch in NBA playoff history. Just some crazy things have been going on, and to say that they had that bad game against the Lakers and still eliminated them shows you like what kind of time the Lakers were on and how dead they were. But then we also had the Pacers coming back with an epic comeback last night. At one point down by 20, I believe, and then end up coming back and winning that game with the Tyrese Halliburton game-winning three with a second left. Then you had, like I said just a few minutes ago, you had the Knicks come back and beat the Celtics with another defensive play at the end of the game by Mikal Bridges, who scored all 14 of his points again in the fourth quarter. So it's just a lot of good playoff basketball going on. We're about to have the Nuggets and the Thunder tip off with their game two, a couple moments. So I mean, it's been a lot. I've really enjoyed these playoffs so far, and looking forward to a good game between the Nuggets and the Thunder right now. With that said, the Warriors and the Timberwolves played their game one last night, and like I said, Steph news came out that Steph got hurt, hamstring injury. It's the first time he's been injured, like had um, a muscle strain or anything like that. So it's hard to tell, and it's a grade 1, so it's not like a grade 2 or grade 3 where there's any tears or anything like that. It's just literally tweaked and pulled, and they're gonna rest him for a week, and then um, kind of monitor him, diagnose him, and go from there. But it's going to be interesting to see if they can still keep all of this up with him being out. Um, it's crazy that we see these guys and they play so great for so long, and you're so used to what they're doing, and you're thinking, they're going to just keep going, and at some point, like the old saying goes, Mother Nature and Father Time are both undefeated. Like, you can't escape it. It's nothing you can do to escape that. So, I mean, it is what it is. Just, man, I don't even know, bro. Like, it's just crazy because, like, I like, especially because Steph is 36. We've never seen him have like this kind of injury or anything like that. Calf strain, hamstring strains, quad strains, nothing like that in his legs or anything. We've seen the ankle injuries early on in his career and stuff like that, but never something like this. So it's uncharted territory, basically. It's something we've never seen before. So that's always interesting. But again, like I said, I've been enjoying these playoffs. I mean, hell, even some of the WNBA, some of their preseason games were really good. Um, Seeing just the way some of those ladies have balled out and whatnot, like, I really enjoyed that. Um, I really, really, really had just been having a good time watching basketball lately, and I'm happy for that because, to be honest, basketball has been so just, well, I'll say this: men's basketball hasn't been as great, and then we watch women's basketball. Women's basketball has been just tremendous over the last few years, and Keyz and I have been very adamant about talking on that and speaking on that, letting people know, like, hey, the women's game is where it's at, and they've been balling out. Um, what was cool about the game last night when the Aces beat the Mercury was Aces rookie Deja Kelly. Deja Kelly hit the game winner. Rookie from Oregon, out of Duncanville, Texas, up north of Dallas, in the Dallas area, right? So they showed like Deja's vision board, I believe, from however long ago she was a kid. And she said in 2025, welcome to the WNBA. That was on her vision board. And look at how God works things out. Not only is she in the WNBA as a rookie in 2025, like she cast on her vision board, but then in her first game as a WNBA rookie, albeit a preseason game, she hit the game winner. So I love it. I love it all the way around. What up, Marty? Um, He's out for the night. He had some family stuff he had to go tend to, so he's not gonna be in tonight. But yeah, man, it was really dope to see her hit that game winner like that, and to have her whole dream and everything come full circle. So some of the other scores, the Sky beat the Lynx, and in that game we got to see, what's her name, Haley Van Lith, for Chicago debut. Um, saw a lot of the bench players get some minutes. Of course, the starters played a good bit, but you saw a lot of the bench get some minutes and whatnot, which is I love to see, especially when you're getting to know some of these players early on. It's good to see them kind of ball out and see what they can do and whatnot. So that was cool to see. Um, Also saw the Sparks beat the Valkyrie in the Valkyries opening game. Uh, the three games last night were all decided by a combined 7 points. We had two 1 point games, and then the Lynx lost by 5 to the Sky. So even though it's early on, in their preseason first preseason game, opening game for a lot of these teams. Well, some of they play some exhibition games against some national teams and whatnot, but like their first actual WNBA preseason games, not the exhibitions. But see those ladies get some work in, man. It was pretty dope. But these playoffs though, man, I'm just saying, like Carl Anthony Towns with 21 and 17 led the Knicks in their win earlier today. That was good to see, and I'm happy for Carl because, like, say what you want about him and a lot of the hyperbole about saying he's the best shooting big man ever and all that kind of stuff. Just to see him go, back home basically and ball out, and to see Jalen Brunson continue to take steps and strides, and to see guys like Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and those guys get the recognition that they deserve. And Mitchell Robinson is one of the more underrated big men in the game today. So I love watching that Knicks team play. Also, that Celtics team, man, like, come on, bro. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, this ain't it, dog. Like, you gotta show that killer instinct. You have to keep your foot on their necks, or they're going to come back. You're going to let them back in the game. And that's exactly what happened. And it's unfortunate, but I mean, hey, what can you do? When you're getting the contributions you need to get from all the guys that you need to get it from. Albeit, I mean, they shot 36%, 25% from three, which is not good. But I mean, when you're in control of the game, there's no excuse for wasting and squandering a lead and then doing that back-to-back games. Like, there's just no excuse for that. And you're at home. So you're at home, relatively healthy. I know Porzingis came off the bench, but it's just there's no excuse for stuff like that to me. And you're a professional defending champs, one of the top seeds, and look at what you're doing. Faltering. I could see something like what happened last night to Cleveland, because Cleveland was missing, a bunch of their guys. They may be the number one seed, but I mean, goddamn, I mean, like they're at least having like two starters and the key a crucial rotational player being out. Like, that's not easy. It's not easy at all. And playoff time, teams tend to tighten their rotations. So 7, sometimes maybe only 8 guys will play. So it's like you have to be more careful and more mindful of, when you have a lead, to hold on to it and play good, smart basketball. And the Celtics just have not been doing that. So props to the Knicks, man, for taking advantage. Like, that's huge, because there's just sometimes, man, where you can't look at the stat sheet and be able to tell like how a team lost. It doesn't always tell a true story. It can give you some really good insight. And if you watch the game using that stat, that'll combine and say, okay, well, this is the story of the game. But you also have to like kind of pay attention and watch. And a lot of the times, things that I see when I see stuff like that, it's a lot of body language and crunch time decision making, or crucial situation decision making. It's not always crunch time, but sometimes there's just crucial situations where, for example, if you have like let's say a 17-point lead, right, and a team goes on a 10-0 run, they're down 7 now. Early on in the shot clock, let's say you take a contested 3, and you're double team or whatever, or there's somebody open, you take a contested 3, you miss. They go down, they hit another shot. Boom. That's how teams start to chip away at leads and whatnot, making like poor decisions like that. Like, you try to squeeze a pass in there where there's not really a passing lane, or you're not a good dribbler or passer. You try to, handle the ball or pass the ball or do something that you're not really used to doing, or you're not accustomed to doing in certain situations. Crucial situation decision making is something that factors in, and this is why a lot of the times there's testing and questioning, looking at film study, doing things on the whiteboard, diagramming things, and trying to figure out your thought process and how you think and how you feel, these intelligence tests and stuff like that. This is why guys go through all of that, because at those crucial moments when you have to make those decisions, the teams want to know as much as they can about your critical decision making. Are you good at it or are you not? Can you make the right decision? Can you like make the right play? Do you always keep your head in the game? Do you keep your composure and whatnot? And that's one of the things that Draymond had to learn in that series against Houston, was he had to learn how to control his emotions and whatnot and keep them in check, or else he was in danger of hurting his team by him not being there, be it being kicked out of a game and or suspended. So it's even more critical now that Steph's going to be out for at least a week, because they're going to need to lean on Draymond to be, more of a playmaker. And they're going to have to count on him probably for some scoring as well, just depending on the way things go. It just so happened that last night he was able to like really he was able to really like take advantage of things and kind of, he was able to hit some shots and help his team scoring wise. But uh, the odd thing about it is you don't think that Draymond's going to give you 18 every night. So you learn not to count on him giving you, more than his 8, 9, maybe 10 points a game, if that, every night. You look for him to contribute in other ways, deflections, steals, blocks, rebounds, assists, keeping being the emotional leader of that team. Things like that. That's what you look for from Draymond as far as his contributions to the game are concerned. So overall, man, NBA playoff basketball has been, really good. Um, it's interesting to see, how this young Thunder team does, because they've been pretty much the best team in the league, pillar to post, so far this offseason. I mean, so far this season. Sorry. Uh, I'm just wondering, like, can they finally see it through? Can they finally like get to that NBA Finals? Can they actually like be that team that like makes it all the way through? And I mean, they're one of the youngest teams to ever earn a top seed in the playoffs. Roster age averages 24.2. Starting lineup age is a year younger than that at 23.2. So I love looking at stuff like that, because when you see a team that's been the best team in the league all season long, like I said, from the beginning to the end, pretty much, and they're that incredibly young, it goes to show you it's not always about the age. So just a cool thing to kind of look at. Trying to look up the average age of different teams. Okay, here we go. The only other younger team that was younger this year than the Thunder was the Trailblazers. And when we look at where those two teams finished, Portland finished 36 and 46, out of the playoffs, and the Thunder were the best team in the league by a 4-game margin over the Celtics. So again, age doesn't really matter as far as how you play and how well you compete. A lot of these teams, I put it to you like this: in the top 10, the 10 youngest teams in the league: Blazers, Thunder, Nets, Jazz, Wizards, Pistons, Grizzlies, Bulls, Magic, Spurs. The only teams that actually made the playoffs were the Thunder, Pistons, the Grizzlies. They did make the play in, and the Magic. That's it. So that just goes to show you, like, it doesn't always matter as far as age is concerned. Youth sometimes can be on your side, and it clearly is with OKC as they open up the game with a 12-point lead right now over Denver. So I really like seeing those younger teams, and people always talk about the face of the league and this and that, and they get into these debates and whatnot about who's the next face of the league and who should be or what have you. Oh, Sorry about that. I'm messing with stuff. This hold up.
Pairing.
My bad. I'm over here pressing stuff by accident, messing up my microphone and stuff. Um, but yeah, man, like I love seeing those younger teams get their recognition and kind of come of age right before our very eyes. Because that's the way you see the progress of the game, and that's how you see the game, keep going, and that's how you end up seeing things grow and you see the changes and whatnot. And I love when I see that because it lets me know, like yeah, we have something here that's viable, something that you have to look forward to and get to know these new stars because you can't rely on the Stephs and the KDs and the LeBrons and the all of these aging superstars. You can't keep relying on those guys. I mean, look at Russ. Russ has bounced around the league a little while. Harden and Kawhi are getting older. Um, so you got guys like Cade Cunningham, Jalen Brunson, um, Joker, uh, SGA. You got Ant, Luca. You got all these young guys that have a tremendous amount of talent that are going to take over this league one day from these other stars. And once those batons are finally all passed down, if you don't familiarize yourself now, you're going to look at it and be like, well, there's nothing and there's nobody. And who are these guys? And I don't even know these people. Well, pay attention. Pay attention. This is why you should tune in here so that we can learn about some of these guys. But yeah, man, I have loved and I continue to love NBA basketball, and it's starting to really restore the feeling. To be honest with you, because like I said, at one point it just kind of grew stale and flat, and I'm not gonna say it was because I can't really explain it. It's more or less a feeling, and it's like an excitability that you get. And there hasn't been very many times where people have just been like, oh wow, like I'm really excited for this game or this series or the finals or what have you. And we just haven't really gotten that yet. And kind of last year it started to restore the feeling, and this year's really like brought it back. And seeing teams like OKC and Cleveland be on top of their respective conferences pretty much all year, especially with OKC being the best team in the league, it's been cool to notice and to see like how these young teams and also teams like the Rockets and still the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics, they're somewhat young. They're not as young. They're one of the older teams in the league, averaging about 27 years. But still, like their two main players, Tatum and Brown, they're both under 30. So when you look at their two stars, there's two stars are still both under 30. So it's a lot to look at, man. I'm just enjoying all of this and look forward to continue to see what these next few games in these next series are going to be looking like. Because one thing that I know, um, getting to see the Knicks and the Celtics battle it out, and the Cavs and the Pacers even, it's like reminds me of old school '80s basketball because those were traditionally four teams that were always really good, as well as the Pistons making it. So that was cool to see. But when you see some of these up and coming teams and whatnot, like the Thunder, like the Nuggets, the Warriors, I mean, they've been established, but you see they're playing the Timberwolves, and Anthony Edwards is trying to bring it back there. Just seeing these final eight teams in the running for it really shows you the changing of the guard that's taken place over the last few years in the NBA. We're not getting the same old teams. And I remember it was like 4 years in a row, the Cavs and the Warriors met in the finals, and people were just tired of it because they were just tired of seeing the same teams, the same players, the same storylines over and over and over. And even though it got repetitive to most, I enjoyed it because I was like, well, these are clearly the two best teams in basketball, so they're going to continue to meet until somebody knocks one or the both of them off. And whether you can say it was LeBron leaving or something, things that happen with Warriors and whatnot, that's neither here nor there. For that period of time, those were the two best teams in basketball, and that's why they continued to meet in the finals like they did. um, there was a huge trade in it. Well, I won't say huge, but I mean it was a big deal to see that trade go down earlier today, where the Cowboys acquired Steelers wide receiver George Pickens. So it'll send Dallas's 2026 third round pick, and then they'll swap. Dallas will send a fifth and a third, and then they'll get back a sixth round pick from the Steelers. So that fifth and that sixth round pick swap is going to happen in 2027, but it's a third rounder for the upcoming 2026 draft next year for Pickens. Now the thing is, it puts the Cowboys in a bit of a situation, and I've seen people kind of go back and forth and debate this because Pickens is destined to want to try free agency. So he hasn't like sounded very enamored with signing an extension. He probably also believes he's worth, wide receiver one type of money, which means he wants in that $30 million a year range or so. But to me, I can't see paying that for a guy who's never had 1,000-yard season or more than like 75 catches in any one given season either. So, I mean, is he a down the field threat? Yes. I'm sorry, he did have 1,100 yards in 2023, but really, I say 12 to 1,300 is really the new benchmark for receiving and rushing yards because you're already playing 16 games. Now you're playing 17. Like you need to average more than 59 yards a game to say that's impressive. But here nor there, that 63 receptions for 1,140 yards was his high watermark in 23. I mean, he's had a decent amount of targets, but still, man, it's just I don't see him being a complete runner of the whole route tree and being able to carry an offense on his back. And a team saying, hey, yes, we need to put our shutdown corner on this guy and follow him around the field or shade coverage his way with a safety over the top or a linebacker underneath or anything like that. I don't see teams where they would treat him so differently. Now, it could be because he was on a team that had a lot of questions at the quarterback position the last few seasons? Yes. However, playing with Russell Wilson last year should have showed something differently, and it kind of did, kind of didn't, but still, I don't see him as a wide receiver one, so I don't see him getting wide receiver one money. I can't even see him as a top-notch wide receiver two and getting T. Higgins type of money. So I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. But the Cowboys gave up a third-round pick for him, basically. They just swapping the fifth and the sixth in the following draft. Pickens isn't under contract, wants to test free agency. They're already cap strapped because they do need to re-sign Micah Parsons, and that deal hasn't even been broached or talked about or reportedly, who knows. They managed to re-sign Lamb and Dak, and now Parsons is up next. They're rebuilding that offensive line and whatnot, and I don't know, man. I got to tell you, it's a bit of a risk to give up a third-round pick for what could be a one-year rental. However, if he does end up being the second wide receiver that you needed, it helps unlock something in that offense, especially with them drafting Jaden Blue. They also traded for Jonathan Mingo from the Panthers. So they got some decent receivers now. They have an exciting rookie at the running back position. You have your quarterback that you paid big money extension to. They even got a couple of decent tight end prospects. Now it's time to see. It's time to put up or shut up. It's time to see what that offense can truly do. And hopefully Jerry made the right decision um, as far as his head coach and Brian Schottenheimer. 100 Cowboy fans versus reality is wild, bruh. I'm not gonna lie. Like they do have one of the more delusional fan bases in sports. The Cowboys fans can be crazy and they can be very delusional. However, I will say this: there are actual rational Cowboys fans out there. I know several, as a matter of fact. So I feel privileged to know them and be good friends with them. Um, but yeah, man, it's crazy because I was looking at the timeline earlier, and there's some people that really think like this is going to put them over the top. Like this now puts them up there with the Eagles and the Redskins to compete not only in that division but for the NFC. So we shall see. I mean, I know the Lions took a couple of hits with their offensive and defensive coordinators both taking head coaching jobs, and so that staff is going to look a little bit different. But they retained a lot of their a lot of their guys. So we're going to see, and then they have guys coming back, a lot of guys coming back from injury. So that'll be cool. Shout out Drake from 290 and Mika, only rational call. Exactly. Those are definitely two of the most rational Cowboy fans I know of because they will shoot it straight with you about their team. And that's why I love talking about Cowboys football with two people like them. So definitely shout out to them, man. It's sometimes, man, I will talk to fans of certain teams or just certain people that are so hardcore and they have the fan colored glasses on so thick that they can't see through it at any point in time, and it is crazy. Scoring points has never been our problem. That another logical and level-headed Cowboys fans who always keeps it real. Yeah, I'm not even gonna bring up that incident, but yeah, that's my homie. I know he's lifelong Cowboys fan, but yeah, he's another one that, like I said, I know several very rational Cowboys fans. Um, and that is true, and that's the thing that I've been hearing consistently from every rational Cowboys fan is Dak performance in big games. The secondary is still leaking, yeah, but here, if that front four can apply more pressure, it'll help that secondary on that back end look a lot better. They won't have to cover as much and as long. So, I mean, it's a lot there, man. It's a lot there. But yeah, the points thing hasn't really been the problem. KG is right. It's always really been, certain parts of that defense, and then Dak's, inability to come through in the clutch in big situations and stuff like that. So I'm thinking though, with drafting Blue and revamping that O line, getting another couple of weapons out there on the outside, I'm hoping that helps add to what they're doing, and it doesn't have Dak lean as much on trying to overdo stuff, because a lot of the times I don't think he folds in the moment. I think he tries to do too much, and I think that's where he goes wrong. After this draft, I'm feeling optimistic as a Broncos fan. I mean, you should, because I wasn't expecting them to do as well as they did last year. So if they can build on that and continue to improve, then you should see some improvement for them, especially after this draft, because they actually drafted a really good corner to go on the other side of Pat Surtain the second. So when you get two really good corners, that tends to free up a lot of what your defense can do, and a lot of the different things that your defense can bring to the table when you have two different guys who can lock a receiver down. So that's always something to look forward to as a football fan. And I used to love that with my team, with the Saints. When I know that they had two good corners or their pass rush was really good, I knew the secondary didn't have to do too much because that pass rush was so good. And the year that they put everything together and they finally gave Drew Brees a good enough defense, they had a great pass rush with the blitzes that they would run under Greg Williams, but the secondary and the linebackers and whatnot also covered very well. So when the rush didn't get home, those guys were able to either bat balls down, get interceptions, or make opponents have contested catches. You're going to give up some passes. It just is what it is. So you have to get used to knowing that you're going to give up some points. You're going to give up plays. It's just limiting those plays, and then after a team makes those big plays, limiting the momentum that they get from those big plays as well. How you feel about the same? You know, in the next few days, week or so, supposedly they're gonna hear something more definitive about what's going on with Derek Carr. Once we hear that, that'll let us know to see what Tyler Shuck is gonna be able to do. Honestly, I hope that Carr is injured, he gets surgery, and he's out for the season to see what these young kids can do. I think they ought to let Rattler and Shuck battle it out for the job. If Shuck actually wins it, then more power to him. Interested to see what the kid can do. He's got the big arm and everything, but he's not a prototypical, or well, I say he's not a prototypical Kellen Moore quarterback, but Kellen Moore did do some coaching over in San Diego with what's his face? Gosh, I can't even remember that kid's name over there in San Diego. But yeah, so there is Justin Herbert. There is he does have a precedent with that type of quarterback. So I think he gets his shot this year, actually, one way or another. I think he'll probably either win the starting role or the backup role if Carr does play. But eventually Carr will get hurt or he will, whatever, and they'll put Shuck in, and then we'll have to see what the young kid can do. But I don't know, man. I'm not excited, and I'm not like all depressed. I'm just kind of blah because they keep kicking the can down the road as far as these high priced ass veterans and stuff like that. Um, just I don't know, man. We'll have to see, but it is what it is, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Other news in the NFL this week: Justin Tucker got released by the Ravens, and the statement by the Ravens said it was strictly a football decision. Right. But no, for real, like people were thinking it was because of the allegations and charges and all of that. Like, let's be real. We've seen people that have stuck around on the exact same NFL teams, not just in the league, but stuck on their same teams with things that have been, you know, either deemed just as bad or worse. So the real thing is that in the last 3 years, his field goal percentage has dropped dramatically from over 90% to 86.5 to 86. And then this past year, he was at like 73 or so. He was 36th in the league in field goal percentage. So that's why the Ravens really got rid of him. And if you take a look at the kicker that they drafted, I believe there's a video of this kid hitting like a 75-yarder in practice. So he has plenty of leg. The accuracy will remain, questionable until he gets in the league and shows what he can do. But I mean, if you got a kid that can hit a 75-yard field goal, even in practice, that's impressive. So we shall see. Look like the Ravens got their kicker of the future, save some cap space, and don't have to deal with the PR fallout of whatever it is that Justin Tucker's dealing with going through. Justin Tucker is Nasty Man 2.0. I mean, almost to a T, especially with the massage allegations and stuff like that. Like that's Deshaun Watson coded like big time. But hey, what can you do, man? Like dudes are freaks. I mean, I'm not here to king shame or nothing like that, but bruh, like what we really need to do is like wonder why these guys keep getting into this kind of trouble. And there's seminars and stuff, especially in the NFL. If you look at the rookie symposiums and different seminars and stuff like that, like there's stuff that they tell you where they try to help you avoid these pitfalls and stuff. He's been banned from 8 parlors. Good Lord. Where there's smoke, there's got to be some fire. So you did something. And even if you didn't do something, you had to have made a person feel a way about something that you did. So where there's smoke, there's got to be some fire. I'm not saying that he's guilty because in this country, innocent until proven guilty, of course. But here's the thing: when you start to see certain things happen over and over and over, or you start to hear the same thing from different people, multiple sources that aren't connected with one another, it leads to itself to saying this isn't just a one-off here or there. This is a pattern of behavior that's being established. So, I mean, you got to be careful with that kind of stuff, man, for real. Um, Other than that, man, I don't think there's been a whole lot going on in the NFL. We saw some guys turn up at the Met Gala and whatnot. Um, the teams are looking at their draft classes. There's mini camps and stuff going on starting, this week and whatnot. So you'll see some rookie mini camps, OTAs, and things like that coming up in the next few weeks. That will kind of give you a little bit more insight as to what these guys can do and how teams feel about them now that they get them in their facilities working out and whatnot. So that's always interesting. Major League Baseball, man, there was a catch, and I saw it last week, and I meant to bring it up last week, and I totally forgot about it. But the outfielder it was like he went to the warning track. He's running, he's looking over his shoulder, and he's got his glove out ready to make the catch. He trips and falls and sticks his glove out in his left hand and catches it almost blind behind his back, kind of, on the warning track after he fell. I mean, the sickest catch I can remember seeing in a long time. I know it was by accident and it wasn't done on purpose, but I mean, still, he saw where the ball was going. He fell down and then stuck his arm out, and mindful enough to make the tackle. So salute to him, man, because that's not easy, bro. Like that was a sick. I mean, a sick catch. Oh, what up, JT? Marks and Mike's in the building. But yeah, man, that was a real crazy catch. Like I was like, bro, you gotta be kidding me. There's this kick pitch with this. Ooh, I gotta look into that and see what they're talking about with this, man, because there's a few pitchers on the Mets staff that have been doing it. Um, and so it's a thing now, and you know, uh, you get stuff. There's like some new something or whatever. It's like a change up splitter hybrid type of pitch. And the motion on it is really weird because it like it was a right hander. When I saw it was a right hander throwing it to a left hander. And as he throws it, it's looking like a regular changeup, but then it has like this breaking motion to it. It's weird. It looks, and it breaks like it was going from left to right, like out, not like a splitter goes down, but this pitch went more out than down. I can't even, like, you'll have to look up the kick pitch or whatever it is, but some kind of way somebody discovered a new way to grip and throw the ball and put literally another spin on it, and it has this really weird motion, and it comes out slow just like a changeup does, and then it does like some sort of break. And every year you see some sort of little something with there's some analytic or something that people have studied and have figured out something to say, okay, this is a way we can get guys out now. So it is what it is. You think it's a wrap for Cleveland? Going back to the NBA, I don't think so. I don't think so. And the reason why I say that is because Cleveland's a good enough team and they've been good enough for a long enough time to where I think that they just need to get back on track. And hopefully if they can get healthy, they'll be better off. But you can't expect the team to just overcome injuries like that. I don't see any injury update as of yet on Evan Mobley, DeAndre Hunter, or Darius Garland. So just have to keep an eye out and see what they're going to look like for the next game. But I mean, hey, we'll just have to, wait it out. But I've seen teams that have come back from being down 0-2 before. It's more common than what you think. That new pitch is true. Textbooks have evolution sport. Yes. And I mean, we see it every year in every sport. There's something else that people find, some other sort of competitive advantage that people find to try to take advantage of and whatnot. Um, I've even seen where, like in basketball, where everybody's now a 3-point shooter. And it's because threes have more, it's 3 points as opposed to a 2 pointer. And the philosophy behind all of this is the more threes you take, the more you'll make, and you'll make up for not making those 2 point shots. So the philosophy is basically threes and frees, where you either hit a three or you try to get to the free throw line. Because if you can get to the free throw line, those are two free shots that you can make to get those 2 points, and then plus you're putting the other team in foul trouble. So the thought process is, if you can't make the three, at least make it to the free throw line to get free buckets and put the other team in foul trouble. You get them in the penalty, then every foul at that point thereafter is free walk to the free throw line. So it's a whole thing, and the analytics on it, sort of makes sense. I looked at the numbers and stuff, and I was shown it, different stuff like that. But I mean, it's something that's been in the game for much longer than people think. Like we can go back to the 80s when Doug Moe and the Nuggets and them, they used to average like 120 something a game or whatever. And they had three different guys who averaged, I want to say, like at least 22 to 25 points a game on that one team. Averaged, all three individuals averaged like 22 to 25 a game. So then you had the Run TMC Golden State Warriors with Don Nelson, when he had Chris Mullin, Mitch Richmond, and Tim Hardaway. Uh, then you fast forward and you had Paul Westphal and the Suns and whatnot, and the 8 seconds or less offense. And then you started seeing different iterations of that pop up all over the league, and then now you start to see more teams shooting more 3 pointers and whatnot. You start to see that philosophy grow and prosper, and it's all something based off something in the past. And if you know your history, then you've seen this before in other iterations. It just wasn't as widespread. And like I said, I'm old, so I go back and I can remember teams like playing like this back in the 80s. But there was only a couple of teams that played like that. You had teams that got out and fast break and whatnot. But that's why I say players back then were a lot more skilled than players today, because players back then, they could shoot these 3 pointers just like players today are shooting. They just didn't shoot as many of them because they got themselves easier buckets to score, and they scored them in bunches. Defense was a lot tougher back then because there wasn't as many rules and stuff to help benefit the offense. So that's why I say players back then were a lot more skilled. There are some guys in these eras that I think would definitely translate to eras back then. But I definitely think that guys from like the 80s, 90s, when I grew up playing, I definitely think that they can play in today's game, and they'd probably be really good at it because there's less restrictions and whatnot. Um, but there's just a lot of stuff that I love about the way the games have changed and evolved and whatnot. Dre says the odds Golden State wins the West. Shit, they may not even win this series if Steph is hurt and they can't get their shit together. Um, Honestly, I think, you know what? Let me just look it up right quick, because, well, it ain't gonna be right quick because I probably ain't gonna be able to find it. But their odds of winning the West, not very good. I wouldn't bet on it. If it's something that you're thinking about betting on, I would say I would put a small nominal bet on them to win the West. and just, like know, like, okay, if I put 10, 20, $50 or whatever on them, the payoff is going to be great. But just be comfortable with losing whatever that money is, because you could be throwing it away, especially with Steph being hurt out for at least a week, they said. Did the Knicks get lucky? They definitely proved they can hang with Boston. I mean, I wasn't worried about that part. Like, that part I wasn't worried about at all, because I knew the Knicks were a really good team. They were basically the 2 and the 3 seed this year in the East. So it's not like we're talking about, a dramatically different team. I know Boston had a 10-game lead on them for the second seed in the East, but I mean, the Knicks are still a really good team. What the Knicks actually did was just show the Celtics, like, we want this more than what you guys want, because they executed better. They did not falter, and they did not crumble under the pressure of being down in game one or in game two. And again, Mikal Bridges came through in the clutch with not only a good offensive performance, but with another game-saving defensive play at the end of the game again. The Knicks just wanted it more, hustled more, didn't give up, didn't quit, didn't show bad body language or anything like that, and they powered through. And that shows the resolve of them as a team, not them relying too much on their stars, because the credit for that win goes to a lot of different guys. You can't say that it was Brunson that did this, or that is a real team. Not saying that the Celtics aren't. It's just that the Celtics, they had a chance to put that game away, to put both of those games away, and they didn't. And it's failure to capitalize on chances like that's what really, like, will ruin you in a series, when you don't take advantage and you don't capitalize and you don't take advantage of those situations and you keep giving up leads and whatnot. That's what will lead you and make you look bad as a team, when you can't, put these teams away. I don't think they're ready to panic yet. I think it's, take it one game at a time. I wouldn't panic if I was, unless they're down 3-0, then panic. But down 0-2, we've seen teams come back and make it a series and or win a series being down 0-2. So I wouldn't say it's time to hit the panic button yet. What else? Oh, these fights this weekend. Let me address that real quick. I was not happy at all with any of those fights. There was not a single one that impressed me, and I'm a boxing fan. Matter of fact, the Canelo fight Saturday night was so boring. I left it on the small minimized screen on my laptop on mute, and I had the UFC on my big TV. I never even put the boxing match on the full laptop or put it on the other TV, nothing like that. I I was not impressed at all. And it's ridiculous, because you would think that from a fighter like Canelo, you would get a better fight. And if you have a guy who's running and not really throwing punches, you think he would just crowd him and dominate him, but he didn't. And he even said himself that after that fight that he doesn't like fighting guys like that. It's like, well, why the hell did you fight him in the first place? It's a mandatory. So there you have it. But still, like that was just a horrible fight. The UFC card was much better. That fight night card. Bo Nakal got his dome rocked. Um, it didn't even look like he took a knee to the head. It looked like it went more to the chest shoulder area, but he caught him on the jaw and then hit him like here. So it was like when he hit that jaw and then he hit him here, you pressed that jaw bone on that nerve and lights out. So man, shout out to them for putting on another good event and at least giving me something good, some good combat sports to watch this weekend. Because man, even Andreas Hale, combat sports writer and cover for ESPN, even he said like fights were trash. You know what I'm saying? And I believe he was at the one in Times Square. So that's the worst bull look ever do has been. He has been, and that's what was so crazy is like that he was I think he was 7-0. Dre, was he 7-0 up until that point, and then he lost. But I mean, every dog has its day, and that's the beautiful thing about MMA. And I was talking about it with a good friend of mine on Monday. He and I have been lifelong like boxing fans, like ever since we were like little bitty kids, bro. Like we grew up watching Tyson and all those guys and stuff like that. And we always loved boxing. Then when UFC came around, we was like, oh shit, like they could do anything in here. Like, yeah, we really into this. And we were both saying like it's it's just sometimes you get a guy like styles make fights, and you'll get a guy that will, have somebody that's going to give him trouble just because the styles don't really match up and they kind of clash a little bit. Said he was undefeated last 2 years in NCAA wrestling too. Yeah, okay. I knew it was something else. He was dominant and he'll be back. Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt it. But the thing is, though, in order to bounce back, you have to add layers to your game. You have to shore up your weaknesses and accentuate your strengths. And you cannot continue to just rely on what brought you to the dance. You have to get better at all aspects of the game. And that's why certain fighters that I'll see in MMA, when I see a wrestler that comes in, and he can take you down, he can defend takedowns and whatnot, but can you strike? How's your submission game? How's your jiu-jitsu, your ground game, and stuff like that? Can you do all of that? And that's one of the things that I saw with Kamaru Usman. When I saw him fighting, he was a good wrestler, and people hated his fights because they thought they were boring. However, he found a way to win, and he knew it worked. And that was until his strike defense wasn't good. And then once he started getting peppered, and he couldn't defend certain things, that's when you saw like him fall off. Or you would see a guy like a Conor McGregor, who he would strike, but he could not defend takedowns and a lot of jiu-jitsu submission moves and whatnot. We saw how he's been getting, peppered and beat up and whatnot. But you see a guy who's a complete fighter like a John Jones, who came in as a wrestler, and then he worked on his striking, he worked on his submissions and ground game and whatnot. And you saw he was more of a complete fighter. Daniel Cormier was the same way. Randy Couture, if we even go back a little bit further, he was the same way. Like guys that worked on multifacets of their game. GSP, one of the best fighters of all time. BJ Penn, another one. Guys that had a certain discipline, but they worked on other disciplines to make themselves more well-rounded fighters. Same way I'll say for boxers as well. You see a guy who has good power, but they come in and they work on their technique, working their jab and whatnot. This is what frustrates me about Deontay Wilder. And I see a guy like a Deontay Wilder. He's a puncher. He's not a boxer. He's a puncher. He looks for that one big punch. He loads up that big right hand. He knocks people out. If Deontay bothered to work on his footwork, motions in the ring, defense, shoulder slips and whatnot, and not just footwork, but footwork coordinated with your handwork and whatnot. One of the things my homeboy and I were talking about on Monday when we were talking about fights is like when you see a fighter add layers to his game, like when you not only counterpunch, but you counterpunch as a defensive mechanism as well. Like you slip a punch, and then you, as you're moving out of the way of that punch that you're slipping, you work in that right hook to the body. Or if you see him throwing that left at you, you sidestep that, and then as you're moving, you're throwing a jab in there or something like that. Like motions like that, where your footwork and your handwork work in a coordinated effort to help you counterattack their offense. Like that's stuff that you need to add layers to your game. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about when I say I look at fights and I analyze things differently, because I'm looking at all of that kind of stuff. Same thing in MMA. If you're a wrestler and you can defend a takedown, okay, great. But what do you do when that guy, that he doesn't take you down, but then he finds a way to get control and get your back or something? Or like you sprawl out and you're on top of him, but he works you underneath, and now he has an arm bar on you. Or he gets his legs wrapped around you and he gets you in a heel hook or an ankle lock or something like that. Like you have to work on your ground defense. You can't just work on your takedown defense. So there's a lot of things that fighters need to layer up and add to their game, not just in boxing, but in MMA as well. So I just wanted to make sure I addressed that, man, because I was highly disappointed in the fights this weekend. It wasn't something that I was expecting. I thought it was going to be a lot better, but it wasn't. So it is what it is, man. And I mean, I'm still going to watch. I just may not be as hyped about stuff. But one thing that I will say is when I saw Crawford and Canelo face off in the ring after Canelo's fight, we obviously knew Bud was taller. But looking at him being in the gym and hitting the weights and trying to gain that good weight, as they say, especially as a pro boxer, he does look the part of a super middleweight or whatever. So I don't think he's gonna have a problem uh, making and holding the weight. A lot of people are questioning whether or not he has the chin for it or if his power will translate. Whether or not he has the chin for it, we ain't gonna know until we see him get in there and take a punch. We've seen him take punches and come back in fights and take some big shots from some guys that he's fought. But I think that that power will translate because the way we described it is Crawford is the most skilled boxer Canelo has been in the ring with since Floyd. Now we know that Canelo fought Floyd way too early on in his career. He wasn't really ready for that level of skill of fighter. However, he has grown, he has matured, he has gotten a lot better as a boxer over this time. But Floyd didn't have that kind of power that would translate to that level that Crawford will bring with him. Crawford is a solid counterpuncher, just like Floyd was. So I don't know. I'm talking myself into betting on Crawford for this fight because I just feel like he's the better boxer, to be honest. I know a lot of people are going to favor Canelo because that's their boy or whatever, and they may not like fully know Crawford, who he is or what he's capable of. But I'm pulling for Crawford on this straight up because I don't see a world in which Crawford will lose that fight on points. And I don't see Canelo knocking him out because Bud is too crafty of a fighter for him to just get caught like that or get constantly barraged with punches like that. Canelo would literally have to catch him with a great punch, perfectly timed, well placed, super like a power punch, and just hope that he does not get up. That's his biggest hope. I'm going to be honest with you in this fight because I don't see him outboxing Crawford for 10, 12 rounds, however long they go. So I'll just be honest with you. I see it as a Crawford win. Either he's going to outpoint him or it's going to get to one of those things where it's going to be a ref stoppage because Canelo is no longer able to throw punches back and Bud is just beating the shit out of him. That's basically how I see that fight going. Sorry, not sorry. But one other thing that I was really happy about was seeing how even after being drafted, Paige Becker says, and I quote, she's speaking on Black women remaining undercover. It's still an issue every single day. There's not ever equal coverage. There's white privilege every single day I see. I feel like I've worked extremely hard, blessed by God, but I do think there's more opportunities for me. I feel like even just marketability, people tend to favor white people, white males, white women. I feel like there is a privilege to what I have and to what all white people have. I recognize that. I want to counteract that with the way I go about my business. She's speaking up for Black women and getting them more opportunities. So I didn't really have a rant this week, but I just wanted to shout out Paige Beckers for continuing to stick up for her fellow athletes, Black women, especially in the world of women's basketball. And just her acknowledging, white privilege and acknowledging her white privilege and saying that she's going to try to basically use her white privilege for good in order to, highlight Black women and try to, put the spotlight on them and give them the opportunities that she feels like she's been graciously given, by her privilege. And so shout out to her for being on point with that, man. We appreciate y'all rocking with us. Just the whole 9 yards. It's been cool to see the little audience grow and whatnot. Keyz, because he had a little thing he had to go do with his family tonight, some family stuff he had to take care of. So we understand. But yeah, man, this is episode 74 of Sucio Sports. presented to you by Gel Blasters and Inplay Dogs. Yeah, I always get the music wrong because I trying to tweak the levels. Anyway, man, appreciate y'all rocking with us. Inplay Dogs and Gel Blasters. Shout out to all the other sponsors on the network. Shout out to all the shows on the network. Sucio Boys, Straight Lax, Aim High. Everybody. Ahun, Sloan, Marty, Dre, the whole crew. We're gonna try to get some new stuff for y'all coming out too, man. I believe there's some other things that we're working on. Just still trying to get some things straightened out, business taken care of, I's dotted and T's crossed and whatnot. But again, this has been episode 74 of Sucio Sports. I'll let y'all next week.